place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, stay not safe. Before you cross me, look both ways. Leaving the scene with no trace, none in my league. You out of place, I'm not at the top, I'm outer space. Can't eat with us, we're out of place. I'm doing fine, I'm feeling great. You're not my fan, you can't relate. Straight talk going, state to state.
Yo, guys, what's going on? It's your host, your boy, George Kyke, back in the Straight Talk Studios, and I got a good one. I got someone who, up until recently, I never picked. In any prediction show that I ever did, that a card that he was on, I never picked him. But now that I work for the promotion and I've seen him numerous times gain some success and earn my respect, please help me welcome to the show a guy who I used to call that fucking Kyle, but now he's just that Kyle.
Hi.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
What up, Georgie Porgy Pudding and Pie?
Oh, pudding and pie. Oh, that's nice. That's really great way to, make me feel comfortable having you on my show, Georgie Porgy.
You're actually less Porgy and Pudding and Pie because you've lost a ton of weight since I met you.
That's true. That's true. I have put in a little bit of work. Thank you so much for noticing. I'm trying my best, trying to stay as healthy and as hulked up as all of you guys. But Kyle, my first question, mini host touched on it, but the year-long kind of storyline that you had with PD Skills about him being your daddy, and finally, I guess, getting that wrap-up of the story at New Frontier. What was it like to, finish off a year-long storyline? I mean, we don't even get that in TV wrestling nowadays. Usually you're best of luck to get 3, maybe 4 months of a story before you say goodbye to it and you move on to another rival. But on the indie scene, where it's unheard of to keep a storyline going for that long, working in multiple different promotions, building that angle, what was it like to finally say goodbye to that storyline?
Honestly, it's a lot like when you start watching like a Netflix show and it only has like 3 seasons and then it was canceled at the time, right? So you watch it and you're watching it and you're watching it and you're loving it. You're getting into the characters and you're getting into the stories behind everything. And then it's just over. Like, you know what I mean? Like, which is fine. Like, as long as it's a satisfying ending, that's what is like important to me storytelling wise, because that's what I do in wrestling. Because like, I'm enough, like I can say like within myself that I'm not like the most technical guy, you know what I mean? Like I ain't no, I'm no Gabriel Fuerza in that ring. Like, you know what I mean? Like I train with Gabriel Fuerza. I have a lot of respect for that guy. And there ain't no way that I could touch him in that ring. And I'm man enough to say that. But if he wants to go in there and tell a story, then I can tell one of the best stories that that anyone can possibly, do. And when it comes to me and Skills, when, like I touched on with the mini host, he said that he was my dad. So when he said that, it was all the confirmation that I needed at the time, because it was sort of just a joke that I was kind of going with, on the internet with videos and whatnot. So when he brought it into the real world and whatnot, and then Warhead booked us for the No Ring North live show, the first one. And he like decimated me. I was so bloody that there was actually fans that attended that show that had never been to any like wrestling ever. And they said that they had never seen anything like that. We were second match, and the first match had Tyler Arrow jumping off a shed through a table. You know what I mean? So like, when it comes to stuff like that, being able to make that imprint in somebody's brain is all that matters to me. It doesn't matter the moves. It doesn't matter the moves or anything like that. It matters what the audience takes away from it, whether they're watching it online or they were there live. So like when it comes to like building a story like that, I want somebody to be like kind of sad that it's over, like for now, if you will, because like it's not necessarily over, because we only have like 2 matches on each other and we're actually 1-1 right now. So like somebody out there could book the rubber match. He holds the hybrid title in No Ring North, so like that could happen for me one day, you know what I mean? And that match will have a built-in not only a year long, say it takes 2 years for me to get that match, there's still going to be people that remember, oh fuck, he used to be his dad, like, you know what I mean? Like, and they'll go and they'll buy tickets based on that.
That's true. That's very true. You're absolutely right. You know what? That's not a bad idea. I mean, Warhead, if you're watching, book that. Book it. Book
No,
it.
no, no. I gotta beat him first. I gotta beat his ass first, and then I can challenge for the hybrid title. That was
Okay.
I put that on myself.
That's right. Okay. So then Kyle, you got some work to do, man. Just beat his ass. It's
Straight
not that
up.
hard, is it? No, actually it is. Warhead is one of the few guys in wrestling I don't know how is still breathing. And I mean that with absolute respect because the shit that man has put his body through, I don't know how he is still walking this earth. Would you not agree with that?
Honestly, I've beat him. It took help, obviously, from outside source, but I still beat him. But the thing is that's why I wanted to beat Warhead again, is because I did have help the first time. I don't want people to think that I'm a fluke, because what happened was I ended up with a bunch of fluke victories in my first like year or so. And that's like how I kind of built my name and whatever. Like, it's like, oh, he got a win over Mark Shaw. Yeah, but he blew Monster in his face and he fell through a table and he just barely got the 3 count. Like, you know what I mean? And then like, or with Warhead, it's like, yeah, he pinned Warhead, like the best hardcore dude in all of Ontario, but like, it was with help. So like when it comes to Warhead, like, still breathing, like when you see guys like Necro Butcher, they're still breathing, like, you know what I mean? We see guys like Madman Pondo, for example. I was just talking about Pondo. He's not only he's still wrestling, like, Necro Butcher's on XPW next weekend, like, you know what I mean? Like, these guys, they're built to something different, man, and that's part of the respect I have for hardcore guys, and like why I ultimately wanted to become one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You know what? Let's touch on that for a second because hardcore wrestling, as much as it's definitely thrived in the late 90s, early 2000s, especially with ECW and all that stuff, and the hardcore championship that WWE had, they put on some great matches, even putting guys that weren't really in the hardcore element in
Mm.
that vibe, which was fantastic to see. Like guys like Road Dogg, who you had no
Mhm.
idea had that hardcore capability to him. It gave extra layers of something that we hadn't really seen before in wrestling. It was always just good guy, bad guy. Sometimes you get the last man standing match where you can use any means necessary, but it wasn't really a hardcore match. Then we start getting these these hardcore style matches where it brings out the best. You look at Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys, what they did with a ladder can never be redone. Nobody can recreate the magic that was created, especially including the Dudleys. You talk about TLC matches 1 and 2, you can't leave those 3 teams anywhere off the list of guys that made a match what they are. But talking about like guys that you resonated with, like guys you got the cameos from, like Pondo, like Nick Gage, these are guys that are built, like you said, different. To be cliche, they're built for tough, if you will. Yeah, that was a great pun, by the way. If you Ford, I don't know if you're looking for a podcast to sponsor. If you do, sponsor me. Buy a Ford today, F-150, only $45,000 down and $75,000 after payment.
Sign me up.
There you go. But what is it about these hardcore guys? Because I mean, you like you said, you trained with Fuerza, and I've seen you wrestle in matches. And not to say that hardcore wrestling isn't wrestling, but it adds a different element. You can have the tide turn on a hardcore match by just a swing of a chair, swing of a bat, swing of any weapon that's really within arm's reach. Whereas in a standard, classic wrestling match, if you will, you have to break the opponent down. You have to wait for your spots. You have to figure out a way to stop their breathing, stop their pacing. But in hardcore, just the swing of any weapon can turn the tide of a match into the other person's favor. So what gravitated you to more towards the hardcore side? Because you can do both very well. And that's what I want to highlight too, is that a lot of people think hardcore wrestlers are just this one straight line wrestler. They're not. They can do both sides. They just enjoy and choose the other element.
Well, there's a few things you said there. I believe that what you say is true with the hardcore matches, where absolutely the weapon that is right near you, you can absolutely swing it and hit a guy, and the tide can turn in a match totally. But I don't know what it is about that. It's not just the hitting guys with weapons. Like when I watched clips of ECW when I was a kid, like the thing that didn't like it didn't attract me to it seeing guys hit each other with chairs super hard unprotected, or like, you know, having cookie sheets bent on their heads or stuff like that, or going through thumbtacks. It was the stories that they were able to tell, like the Sandman versus Raven, or like anything to do with Raven. Let's be honest. Um, like the stories they were able to tell, and like the elements that they were able to like implement in those stories that you didn't see in regular wrestling, or at least I didn't. You know what I mean? At the time, especially when I became like an actual super fan in like 2007, and that was when like ECW was like getting its like resurgence on like the WWE CW, like, you know what I mean? So like when I could go back and look at clips, it was like you know, seeing guys like Tommy Dreamer, you know what I mean, take those cane hits from the Sandman, and he's crying, and the audience is screaming at him to stay down, but he keeps getting back up. You know what I mean? Like that shit made me cry. Like, you know what I mean? And when anything can make me feel in this life, you know what I mean? Like I have respect for it. And not that regular wrestling doesn't make me feel. It absolutely does. Like, you know what I mean? But the thing about hardcore and the thing about Warhead, let's like I want to go back to him, like, just because when I was training, I was watching like Death Proof. You know what I mean? And loving it, you know, and looking up to dudes like Jesse Amato and Warhead and Matt Cash. Like, you know what I mean? Like thinking that these guys like grew up near me, and they're doing like the stuff that I want to do. You know what I mean? Like in the style that I think is the coolest way to do it. Like, and that's not even really the truth either, because like Zack Sabre Jr. does some insanely cool shit, and he doesn't swing anything at anyone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and like guys like Akira, like, I don't know if you've heard of Akira, but if you put him in a match that didn't have weapons in it, he could still have like an incredible wrestling match. But if you toss light tubes in there too, he'll do an incredible wrestling match that just happens to have broken glass underneath him, which just makes it that much cooler. Like Jun Kasai said that he wanted to do death matches because they were the only kind of matches that he could see his father watching and not being able to say, hey, that's fake, or that wouldn't hurt when that happened, or you know what I mean? Like Jun Kasai's dad would say that while they were watching wrestling together. They were, you know, and Jun Kasai didn't, he wanted to wrestle, but he wanted his dad to respect him. You know what I mean? So that was why he chose to do death matches, and now he's an icon. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question in that diatribe, but in there is something, I'm sure.
No, you did, and it's funny when you look at guys that had lasting longevity in the hardcore scene. You mentioned Tommy Dreamer flourished in ECW as the heart and soul of ECW. Came over to WWE, didn't really resonate. You look at a guy like Funkmaster Flash, when he was in, you know, ECW under a different moniker, and then came over to WWE as Funkmaster Flash, fell apart hard. Right?
I'd like to interject, only because when Tommy Dreamer did eventually win the ECW title in WWE, I did cry. Like that was a good story that they told and were able to tell with him, and like he's like you said, like, you know, they didn't necessarily resonate with the audience, but the story he was able to tell in that, like just based on his history, like that was a great decision they made. I don't necessarily know why they didn't make more decisions like that with him or like any of those guys.
Well, let's talk about the resurgence in WWE bringing ECW back under that new banner and everything like that. Like, I mean, One Night Stand, epic. Still one of my favorite events of all time. Edge coming in with the motorcycle helmet, the heat, the natural heat that Cena got. You can't really compare those things. Those things are next level in a lot of ways. But then you look at what they did and the stars that they could have brought in and really do. See, there you go. You have it right there.
Yeah.
One Night Stand. Epic. Absolutely epic. But then when WWE puts their spin on it, better production, better cameras, better sound and lighting quality, it takes away from that grittiness, that griminess, that realism that the 2300 Arena brought us on so many nights. And that's what I think was the ultimate undoing. Well, they've touched on it numerous times about the rise and fall of ECW. The ultimate undoing was Paul Heyman's bad business sense. Great mind for wrestling, great mind for the business, bad with money. Looking at like, I mean, if you look at like how they did it, like Tommy Dreamer packed 90% of the shit in that warehouse and shipped it off to people. Rob Van Dam did that. These guys were all pulling double, triple duty, just trying to get shit out there. And they had lightning in a bottle and it fell apart. And then when it tried to come back with an actual backing of money, it fell apart. So, I mean, do you think that if if WWE, my apologies. Well, I'm going to get a lot of heat for that. The marks are going to freak out. Calm down, boys. I said 3 letters wrong.
Comment section.
Sorry?
Comment section.
Comment section right there. Oh, fucking guy. No. Shut up.
Yeah.
Warriors. Fucking bullshit. But do you think that if WWE had allowed ECW to come back, but let them do things their way, we'd still have ECW very much alive and flourishing today?
Yes, like as in most things in life, Vince McMahon's input made everything worse. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know what it is. Like, if he just wanted to, like, he just saw Bobby Lashley and he was just like, saw stars in his eyes. And then, when that December to Dismember pay-per-view happened, that's like when the straw broke. You know what I mean? But it didn't have to be like that. Like, there was a whole other plan for that show that would have gone better, but it was all scrapped. Like, and the whole creative was taken over, and then because that was done wrong, he cans Paul Heyman, and then the whole show continues to degrade from there, like slowly erode like a rock to the ocean. Like, you know what I mean? But like eventually it did become like a proto NXT, which is kind of dope. Like what honestly what ECW probably should have been, like, where it was like they had the classic ECW dudes that showed up, the ones that could still go, you know what I mean? And like, and guys that like they never brought in, like Perry Saturn and John Cronus were right there. Like, you know what I mean? Like there were other guys too, like the Spike Dudley, you know what I mean? Like were these guys were working in like TNA at the time. You know what I mean? Rhino, for God's sake. Like, you know what I buy his contract out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Raven, for God's sakes. They wrote him off TV in 2006. Like, you know what I mean? He was right there.
And they could have
I don't know.
They could
have done so much more. They could have done more with it. And the fact that they weren't willing to, like, you own it. Why wouldn't you just milk it for all it's worth? The fans, you said in the documentary that you made, the fans were the lifeblood of this promotion or whatever. Why didn't you listen to them then? You know what I mean?
Oh,
I don't know.
We could go into WWE not listening to fans.
We could go for hours, bro.
For hours on that. But let's get back to the subject at hand, which is you. Now, I got to ask this question. You sit down, you watch wrestling for the first time, you fall in love with it. You go deeper down the rabbit hole that is wrestling. You find some, international stuff. You find the hardcore stuff, then you find the really crazy stuff. And all of a sudden you're like, I want to do this. What was the conversation with your actual parents about when all this shit went down? You sat down, like, everybody picture Kyle's house, okay? You got a fancy trailer in Oshawa, something. No.
I live in Lindsay. I'm from Lindsay. There's so many more jokes.
There's so many more. Actually, there's
so many more jokes.
So you're in the crack capital of the world, whereas
Oshawa is the
crystal meth capital of the world.
There you go.
When you sit down for dinner, mom and dad, and you go, guys, I love you. I love my life. I love breathing. I love everything that I have. But you know what? I'm going to be a wrestler. Not only that, I'm going to be a wrestler that puts all wrestlers put their body on the line, but I'm going to be a wrestler that uses his body as a weapon. And sometimes he beats the shit out of people, and a lot of times they bleed, but it's going to be, gosh darn, it's going to be fun. What was your parents' reaction when you said, I want to train, I want to be a wrestler?
Bold of you to assume I actually had a dad.
Yeah.
I didn't really. My mom was very young when she had me. And my dad was slightly older, like whatever. It wasn't weird or anything, but he wasn't around, man. Like, that's just how it was, like, I don't have a dad, like, you know what I mean, in real life. So, but I had a shitty stepdad. And he was very indifferent. He wanted me to do something that would make it so that I had like a retirement plan for him. Like, you know what I mean? Like he had more of the idea of like I should have a job that makes a lot of money so that I can take care of him when he gets like old or whatever. And it's like he never, and I say shitty stepdad because he never was a dad. He was kind of just pissed that I was there, if that makes sense, and he treated me like that.
Yeah.
So never hit me or anything like that, but it's the words and like the implication, as Always Sunny in Philadelphia's Dennis would say, the implication that something bad might happen if I, do something wrong or say something wrong. So I didn't really talk about it a lot with him. My mom is the sweetest person. Like she's great. Like it's not her fault that she was, abused for years by some dick. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not her fault. So, she was always like as supportive as she could possibly be without getting, berated by some asshole. So, but it was my nana papa, man. Like my mom's mom and her second husband, who's not even my blood grandfather, who's been the most supportive people that have ever existed in my life, and they're the ones that helped me out to get into wrestling school. They helped me write the essay for Rob Fuego's wrestling school when he had that essay contest that I'm pretty sure Leia Von Dutch won.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I entered that. I didn't win. But I was able to find a friend who lived in Richmond Hill, and I moved up there, and my nana papa helped me with the money to get into wrestling school. And I didn't do the monthly thing. Like they helped me with like the whole thing. So like, you know what I mean? So I was at Squared Circle like for 2-3 years, like, you know what I mean? Like, until I was like semi bullied out, but for but like whatever. And then they only lasted like 2 years after that. So
Papa's a bitch. You know what? You're not the
yeah.
first person to mention to me about the kind of shadiness that went on at Squared Circle. When you say semi got bullied out, can we expand on that a little bit?
I mean, like when like an example would be like I have no ill will toward him or whatever, but like a guy like Ashley Six, like, I would go up to him with fucking colored hair and painted nails and be like, yo, like when I was watching Ontario indie shows, like you were one of my favorites and shit like that. And he kind of like laughed at me. And he wrote on Twitter, actually, if you go back far enough to 2012, you can see a tweet that Ashley Six wrote that says something like some kid at training just said that I was an inspiration to him. He has black nails. What have I done? Like, you know what I mean? Like, which is fine or whatever. But like, I don't know, like things like Rob Fuego forgetting my name, like this one promo I did for No Ring North. Like I was there for a fucking year and he never remembered my name, which sucks. Like guys like Anthony Fiasco, Tomer Shalom, just like the most like terrible shitty like people to the people that they were supposed to, they were paying to be there because they were passionate about a thing that they were also passionate about, but they bullied anyone that was different. You know what I mean? Like I could have some kind of undiagnosed autism or some shit and they still bullied me. Like, you know what I mean? Like bullied me. Like I can't say much because like my best friend bullied me, Jason Chase. Like, you know what I mean? Greg Gibson, he bullied me. He tried to make me leave because they would pair us together all the time and he hated being compared to me. So he wanted me to leave. So he bullied me to make me leave and I never did, because my nana and papa gave me this fucking money. Like I'm doing this thing. You know what I mean? I'm doing my passion. I'm doing what I want to do with my life. I don't care what you people do. I don't care if you put me through 1,000 squats. I don't care if you know what I mean? Like call me, I was Sloth from the Goonies. You know what I mean? That was my nickname. You know what I mean? Like it's not my fault my teeth are bad. Like I got hit with a battery when I was a kid and then we never had any money, man. Like we couldn't pay to have my teeth fixed. Like sorry. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So like it's a whole lot of shit. And like I've like this second chance is a whole lot different than my first go around, if you will. And it's a whole lot different. Like, obviously, there's some elements that are the same, but like, I have a lot of like friends now. Like, I got like people that like I give a shit about, that I care about, like to my core, like outside of wrestling. You know what I mean? That I met because of wrestling. And if that's all I get from wrestling is like a few good friends or whatever that I can help support or whatever like that, like stop wrestling tomorrow. At least I have some friends or whatever, and I can support them. I can go to the shows and I can help them out, and I can, whatever. Like, I can make videos for them on YouTube and stuff, like whatever. Like, I don't know. Like I don't know. Wrestling is what it is. You really got to love it. Like, you know what I mean? So, and find the good parts and kind of focus on that.
You absolutely do. You're right. You're 100% right on that. Listen, I have been in this, I guess, following my passion, which was talking and sit down with you guys, starting a podcast. A lot of sweat, a lot of blood, a lot of tears, a lot of late nights, a lot of early mornings, a lot of forgetting interviews. I apologize about that, by the way. That Kyle and I had an interview scheduled weeks before this, and I fucked it up. I'll be the first to admit it. I'm gonna put it on camera. I completely forgot. And he's like, "Hey, dude, I'm waiting." And
I waited for you to ask for a half hour.
Yeah, I know. And you know what the funny thing was? Not funny, but the thing was is that you were so endearing. You understood. I had a little situation that came up personally, and you were like, "It's all good, man. I'm jacked. We're gonna, I'm excited. We're gonna do it." And here we are, and we're doing it. It's been a great conversation thus far. But doing this for 6+ years now, and getting a chance to meet and conversate with the amount of people that I've met, and to add you to the list, and to learn about the good and the bads, and the rights and the wrongs, and how great wrestling can be. But a lot of people don't know about what's behind the curtain. And then we kind of had this changing the guard about a year and a half, 2 years ago. We had the speaking out movement where everybody that was a shit bag, a dirt bag, an asshole, every fucking word under the sun.
Well, some of them,
not all of them, but a good fat majority of them all got called out and are now no longer in this business, or very rarely seen in this business, because the world is changing now. I don't want to say we're oversensitized, but we are very, very much aware of our surroundings and aware of what we should and shouldn't put up with. And it's okay to speak your mind. It's okay to, speak your truth. And if that's the case, and now these certain individuals, some of the majority of them, whatever you want to call, let's say 50%, 50% of the bad eggs are gone. Now we just got to work on getting the rest out of there and bringing in the class that's kind of here now. And I think it was definitely a relevation or a resurgence in the Ontario scene, but how many people came back with open arms. Some people, were humbled. Some people said, yeah, you know what? In my early days, I was a piece of shit, but now I'm older, I'm wiser, I'm smarter, and I understand what I did wrong and what was okay back then and what wasn't. But a lot of people forget that wrestling was a lot of hazing. Wrestling is essentially just a bully sport. I mean, you go back to the history archives, WWE, look at JBL and all the shit that fucking guy's done. Like, there unfortunately is bullies as you get older. There's bullies when you're a kid. There's bullies all through life. But the way I look at that is, fuck them. You know what? Yeah. I was picked on.
Like, my what's on my shirt and the thing that was on my knee pads from the very first That Kyle, like anything, are the letters FUH, a dash, and a Q. There's always fuck you in everything I do, because it's a fuck you to everyone that ever said that I could never do this. Like, whether it's those assholes from high school that made fun of me and said I should do UFC instead. Like, you know what I mean? Or my shitty stepdad, or, those assholes from wrestling school. Like, you know what I mean? Like, whatever it is, like, it's a fuck you to all of them, and the FUH-Q comes from Ben Affleck in Dazed and Confused.
Shout out to Ben Affleck, the creepiest motherfucker in that movie, next to Matthew McConaughey.
Legit.
Something about high school girls, man. The older I get, they say the
same age.
But you know what, man? You took all that negativity and you switch it into a positive, and that's a huge factor to who you are as a person now. And you're one of the nicest guys. Yeah, we shitbag on each other. We talk shit all the time, but we know.
But I love you, George.
I love you too. It's all out of mutual respect, because I couldn't narrate amazing stories without amazing storytellers in the ring.
Oh.
And from where I've seen it's true, man. From the first match that I called to that, Kyle, to where you've been now, we're 5 shows in at New Frontier. I see the layers, and I see there's you're about ready to hit that glass ceiling and then punch through. So you just got to give it a little bit more. You got to reach those stories. But look, like you said, man, you're in the ring with Mondo. That's one of your idols. You had a crazy match with Green Phantom only a few weeks ago.
Yes.
That was insane. Green Phantom's an OG legend, one of the nicest guys in the world, but he had no problem smacking you up and down the ring. But sweetheart of a human being.
Oh, and, awesome, dude.
You got to fight him for the IWS. I mean, fucking, that shit was on the line. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
So,
only 16 people have ever held it.
Yeah, and you could have been 17, but you didn't have enough Monster Energy drinks in you that day. You fucked up, Kyle. You fucked up.
No. I had him in my finish and everything. He pushed me into the turnbuckle and got me by surprise. And that's the thing too, is he's a veteran and all that and whatever, but he had to resort to that sort of thing to beat me. Like, you know what I mean? And hurt my back with that Phantom Menace. You know what I mean?
True. I mean, at least he didn't kill you through a door like he did Andrew Love. He
tried to kill me through chairs. I saw your reaction to that. You put your hands in the air.
Yeah, I was like, holy
when I kicked out. Yeah.
But that's the great thing about New Frontier, is that New Frontier is built different. It's making stars out of the right people, and they're building great stories. And that's what I love about being a part of that project. I mean, I still don't know who the fuck the matchmaker is. Mm-hmm. I mean, we all just
by the way, I am not the matchmaker, nor do I say that I am the matchmaker on the way to the ring. I am the mess maker. MESS.
Okay. So yeah, people get that right, please. Understand that.
Yeah, you get that right. 3 shows in a row, you're saying on commentary, oh, that Kyle's calling himself the matchmaker on the way to the the mess maker, damn it.
Yeah, I only said it once. Hayes said it twice. Okay, maybe you should learn the sound of our voices. We're very different human beings.
I don't know. You both are trying to be Paul Heyman from 2001 at the same time.
Fuck that shit. Everybody's fucking Paul Heyman it's fucking this guy right here. Hayes,
you both are trying, is what I'm saying.
Hayes is Michael fucking Cole at best. At best.
In 2001?
Yeah, fucking getting wedgies and shit. Hell yeah. That's Hayes. Fucking stupid bastard.
I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. But when you look at like I said, the start of your career wasn't necessarily the greatest. You said this second go round. What was the turning point to convince you that maybe I'm going to give this a serious go the second time?
But thinking of that Kyle character for a year before it actually became an actual real thing. And then when Warhead contacted me, because I live out in Lindsay, so I have a lot of rural area around me, and he was looking for a rural kind of area that we could kind of dress up to look like sort of a junkyard almost, something cool of an aesthetic for No Ring North Volume 2. And so I pulled a bunch of strings and I figured a bunch of stuff out. I got us a car that we could just, do whatever we wanted with, and we did. So you know what I mean? So I got one car that we could do whatever we wanted with, and then the rest were there as just decoration. And then that's the thing, with the pandemic, it was really hard for everybody to kind of produce content. So when the opportunity to help create content during the pandemic came up, I was like, hell yeah. But then when Warhead was like, okay, so do you want a match then? And at this point I hadn't wrestled since 2016. So I was just against who? And he was like, me. And I was like, and 2014 me shat. You know what I mean? And yeah, just shat. And so of course I said to him, I was like, I'd love to, blah blah blah, have a hardcore match outside in a weird junkyard thing with you. So he's like, okay, so do you have a whole thing, a gimmick, character, whatever? Because at the time I kind of didn't. Even in 2016 I was my character was Ryan Reedus, and I was just a comic book fan. I had Wolverine chops, and I came to the ring in a Deadpool hoodie. You know what I mean? I had 4 matches. You know what I mean? And then before that I was Adrian Anarcho, who's a British guy. The only reason I did that was so I could get away with the bad teeth. So it's real. And I did the fake accent too. See, like I would work on my accent like during training and shit like that because I was actually the worst child on the planet, and I annoyed the fuck out of everybody in training.
Yeah,
But
baby.
yeah, baby. But low behave. But anyway, so I was like a shitty Sex Pistols like ripoff, right? So that wasn't gonna fly probably. So when I had that Kyle in my head for like a full ass year, when Warhead asked me if I had a character that I wanted to, have a match with him against, I figured, all right, I can get some monsters, I can get some drywall, I can, film a promo, you know what I mean, where like I pour the monster on the drywall that had Warhead's name written on it with like penises drawn on it too, like and so that is where it started, and then it kind of just built from there. I was able to kind of install little tweaks each time I was able to kind of like produce some sort of content, like be a part of anything. I was able to add little things to my character that could be built over time. And if somebody was watching from the very beginning to watch what I was in No Ring North Volume 2, and then to see my match with Green Phantom, like to watch from that to that consecutively, that person would probably be like, "Aw, like good for Kyle." Like, you know what I mean? Like, sort of. Like, you know what I mean? And then, like, somebody who saw just the Green Phantom match and then went back and then saw what that match looked like, the No Ring North one with Warhead, like, they would be like, oh, wow, he's come a kind of a long way almost. Like, you know what I mean? Like, sort of. Like, like came into his own almost, like, with the green hair, like, you know what I mean? And like the look of like, and the monster bat, like, you know what I mean? These are all things, like, I don't even carry monsters. I don't buy monsters anymore. The fans bring them to me. Like, I don't buy monsters before shows. Like they are there with one. Like somebody has one for me. So like, and like there's people that chant at PD Skills, Kyle's dad, that I'm not even on the show. You know what I mean? And they chant PD. They chant Kyle's dad at PD Skills. So like, I don't know. Like I've built like something. You know what I mean? And like, I can be proud of that, because I did build it from absolutely nothing. Like I spent some money at first because what else are you gonna do? You know what I mean? And I bought myself good gear. Like, I had like a good job there for a bit, so I was able to kind of do that. And a lot of guys don't have that capability either. And I take my promos and like stuff like that like super seriously. Like I try to like do like cool shit or funny shit, like, and in each one. And I'd love to help other guys do that too. Like if other guys are like, oh man, like I wish my promos like looked better or whatever, or like or my or I wish I could have a highlight reel video, with a song behind it or something. I'm like, dude, hit me up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not a dick. Like, like people think that they see the character and they think that I'm like that. And it's kind of sad because like, I just want to be friends. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it is. Like, we all love the same shit. Like, it's true. We all love the same things. Like, whether we have different politics, different religions, different whatever, like, we all love the same shit. So, let's all be friends. I don't know.
You should come out to Why Can't We Be Friends?
No, I come out to the sultry sounds of Grady Finch, the former the horror singer and whatnot. He's wonderful and did a song for me for $600.
Hey, that's all right. That's all right. That's sick. That's sick. So before we actually do get into horror movies, because this is probably going to drop sometime around the end of October, so we're going to be right there, spooky season.
Oh hell yeah!
And I definitely want to talk horror movies with you for a bit. But
love it.
A final question on wrestling, and then we'll have some fun with the rest of the conversation. When it's time to hang up the boots, and you think about kind of what the next step is, the after life of a wrestler, if you will, the in-ring career is over, and you're like, what am I going to do? What do I want to do? I've got some knowledge. I've had some successes. I built a good character. I took a shitty idea and turned it into something that people can remember, and I built it from the ground up. What can I do? Is a wrestling school on your mind, knowing that what you went through, you don't ever want to see the next generation of wrestlers go through? So possibly open up a wrestling school with some good friends, like a PD Skills, like a Fuerza, like, I don't know, people who
like a Jason Chase.
Yeah, there you go. But people that you feel like, you know what, maybe I could pass on the knowledge and actually pass on the knowledge of how to treat others with respect in this business. and know what you do in the ring doesn't have to resonate out back. If you beat the fuck out of somebody in the ring, you go backstage, you give them a hug and you say, hey man, that's fucking great. You don't go backstage and be like, you fucking messed up this, you fucking messed. Yeah, you talk about things and you iron them out, but you don't act like a bag of shit. Have you ever thought about maybe that's a possibility down the line?
Being as how I live in Lindsay, that's how actually like what my ultimate goal actually would be, is to open like a facility, and it has been like, this is my goal for years. It's funny that you even mentioned it.
That's
because
I do
there
my
isn't
research, Kyle.
I,
Fucking do it.
I love you for it. So yeah, like I said, like, you know, the oh, hi Moxley, that's my cat. Hi.
Why does every
So,
cat that's on camera fucking moon me?
I,
Like every cat
Yeah,
just
enjoy.
shows me its ass.
She does it to me all the
It
time.
won't put its face there, but it's no problem. Show me its ass.
Oh yeah. She's like that.
Ah.
But anyway, so but yeah, so I want to open like a facility of some sort like that, where somebody can like, somebody who lives in like Durham region, or, you know, Bobcaygeon area, or Kawartha Lakes, you know, area around here, Little Britain, you know, these little places that never get wrestling. I would love to have a place that I could run shows, small shows, like monthly or every 2 weeks or something. Just have like the really like the good guys that can come in and whatever, like, you know, the guys that are essentially I just book my friends all the time. And but no, like, you know, there's a lot that I want to do outside of wrestling that has stuff to do with wrestling. Like, stop messing with paper. Sorry. But yeah, I want to have like dorms in this facility, so that guys can come and they can train and they can hang out for like a couple days at a time, and, you know, like, you know, work on their shit for a bit and whatever and stuff. Like, I don't know about a full on like actual training program. Like, I could do like a Head Start program, like almost like a thing where you can attend my program, and it's almost like like in school when they have those not preschool, but they have like a school like adjustment thing program, where you put your kids together, and it's like adjusting them to the idea of what school is like before they end up going. So essentially what I would want is something like that. Like, eventually somebody who is an actual like very good wrestler, like I'm all right, but like somebody who's an actual good wrestler should be a trainer. You know what I mean? But I would love to be like a mentor, like a helper. Like, you know what I mean? Like somebody that can help somebody get that foot in the door to a place where they can actually train to actually be really good one day. Like, you know, like I could be like, you know, I'm like Rip Impact, like I like him, like I've known him my entire career. Like, you know, if I, you know, if I send somebody and I'm just like, this person has a lot of potential, and I get a hold of Rip Impact and I'm just like, HPW, like, you know what I mean? Or, you know, some other place like that, where they can get a very good education. Like, I'm not one to sit here and say that I'm good enough to train somebody. Like, I don't want to say that, because that disrespects the people that like would be like good enough. You know what I mean? Maybe that's just my insecurities talking, because I have a ton of those. But yeah, like Lindsay in this area needs something like that, where like kids who have even like the littlest interest in something like that can have a place to hang out, and they don't, you know, they're not stealing milk crates from Circle K, you know what I mean? Or something like that, you know what I mean? Like, or causing mayhem, or, you know, tagging their initials on garbage cans, you know what I mean? Shit like that. Doing crack.
Yeah, there you go. There it is, right there. So, I mean, you know what? I think you are good enough, and that might be your insecurities talking about. But I feel like even if so much of you don't want to train, like you said, a Head Start program, have like just a straight promo class, have a working with the commentary team class, have those kind of things where they can get comfortable. Listen, somebody may want to bring you on guest commentary. Sit down, learn, watch these guys, watch what they do, feel how you can interject, kind of give them the tools of the trade, and at the end of it, you could be like, all right, you know what? You're not bad. You live in this area. Here's a great school that we can put you at. I know the trainer. Tell him, you know, you came to our program or came to our seminar, and you know, they'll help you out. and then this and that. Oh, hey, you live here? Check out these guys. You know, go work out at these guys. You know what? You're a little too far out of where there's anything good. So you're gonna have to, if you really want to chase this dream, you might have to move down a little bit closer to a school, this or that. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. I just think it's something you got to kind of work out the logistics. Yes. But I feel like with the right passion, which you have bucket loads of, you can make something like that happen. So, you know, keep doing what you're doing, dude, because insecurities or not, you got to realize that when you're in that squared circle, you can hang with anybody. And that's the truth of the matter. All right. Now let's talk horror movies. Let's get on to something fun. Enough of this emotional fucking roller coaster bullshit we've been on. No, it's been a great conversation thus far. A couple more questions, I'll let you go. Now, horror movies. I'm a big horror movie guy. Horror movies are my thing. I love them. I love them all. Now, there is some debate on everyone's horror movie Mount Rushmore. So this so much is not a question, but I'm going to force you to make a decision. I always play this game called Forced Mount Rushmore, where I give the person I'm talking to 5 wrestlers that they have to put on Mount Rushmore. But because I know your love of horror movies and my love of horror movies, I'm going to force 5 horror characters at you, and you're going to have to rank them from 1 to 5, 1 being the worst on that list, 5 being the best. So are you ready? I'm obviously going to go with some of the classics, but I'm going to throw in a curveball or two just to see your horror movie knowledge.
Okay, right on.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Yes.
Number 1, obviously, because he's my favorite and most people's favorite, Michael Myers will be on that list somewhere. Number 2, somebody who I feel is not really necessarily appreciated, but for the sake of what he's done for the genre of a good slasher flick, or of a good psychological fuckery, I'm going to say the Mountain Man from Wrong Turn. There's been 6 wrong turns made.
Yes.
And a lot of people don't appreciate. I love the first one. Everything else after that is trash. But the first one,
Elijah Dushku.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Oh yeah. Faith from Buffy. Faith from Buffy. Oh buddy. Buddy. Yeah. I was a big fan of Faith from Buffy. When Xander got to sleep with Faith, I was fucking pissed.
I was pissed too.
I was like, fuck, really? Xander?
This
fucking guy?
Why not me?
Yeah, and he also got fucking Chasmere Carpenter too. What the fuck, bro?
I love that you love Buffy. That's awesome.
There you go. So Wrong Turn's one of my curveballs. Another classic, obviously.
Love Wrong Turn.
I mean, you can't mention horror movies in any fashion without mentioning Freddy Krueger. I mean, he's got to be up there. Another curveball, because I actually hate this series a whole lot, and I want to see where you rank it. The Leprechaun.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I actually fucking really
Jennifer Aniston, one of her first movies.
Yeah, I know, but still, she couldn't save that movie, buddy.
She couldn't. It's true.
No, she couldn't.
I'm the Leprechaun.
Exactly. There you go. And for the 5th and final one, I'm going to throw out at you because I appreciate his work and his killing ability, and the fact that he was only like 2 feet tall, much like the Leprechaun. Chucky.
So
there you go. You got Michael Myers. You got the Mountain Men from Wrong Turn.
Yes.
You got Freddy Krueger. You got the Leprechaun, and you got Chucky. So now, 1 being the worst on that list, 5 being the best.
5 being the best. All right. Should I start with 1 or 5?
You want to start worst to best, so you got to go 1.
Okay, we'll go with 1. All right. So we're going with the Leprechaun for 1. Only not because of longevity or anything like that. Only because I just find him inferior to the rest of the list.
Okay.
You know what I mean? He's proficient. He's had a lot of movies to his belt and a lot of high profile murders.
Yeah, he went to the hood. He went to the
hood. Twice. And the fact that he was once played by Hornswoggle is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so he's at the bottom definitely. Let's go with because honestly, the most memorable thing about the Leprechaun movies is the impression of the Leprechaun that Wayne does in Wayne's World. So that you know what I mean. So
all right.
Let's go with the Mountain Men for number 2. Only because there were several of them, and I don't believe that you could fit all of their faces on a Mount Rushmore. Unless you took one of the slots of the Mount Rushmore and just added all of their faces to it.
Yeah,
that's more of a logistical choice.
Okay.
So that's more of a logistical choice than anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I do love the movies, don't get me wrong. Bloodline kind of like messed with me. I didn't necessarily enjoy Bloodline as much because I felt like it added too much to the lore of the Mountain Men. It's like just put them in different settings and have them murder people one by one. Like that is the formula that works. Stop trying to add weird backstory shit to it.
Yeah.
But and then number 3 would probably be Michael Myers, again, only because of my affinity for the next 2. You know what I mean? Like I love me some Michael Myers. Like my favorite of all the horror of Halloween movies is definitely like, and people might not like this, but it is the Rob Zombie Halloween 2.
Oh!
Like, yeah.
I don't like. I hate Rob Zombie. Ruined Michael for me.
You didn't like it? I liked his choice for Samuel Loomis, and I like the fact that like all of his casting, like his casting is incredible. Like not necessarily the story or like the structure of the movie itself or how long it was, but like the casting. I'm a big cast mark. I like cast. Okay. But so I'm putting Michael there just for that. Like everything else is great. Let's go with see, this is hard because I have Chucky, as you can see, tattooed on me. And I also have Freddy Krueger, the phone, when he sticks his tongue out the phone and licks Nancy's face. So the 2 of them, I got to go with probably, because I met Robert Englund. And he actually, my Captain Spaulding tattoo, I had it at the time I got his autograph, and Robert Englund said to me, "Oh, you got Sid on your arm," because Sid Haig, right? They say, "Oh, you got Sid on your arm, do you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a big fan of his." Blah blah blah. He goes, "Oh, he's right where he belongs too, right in the ditch." Like my arm. So okay, so just because of personal reasons, I want to put Freddy Krueger. You know what? Freddy Krueger second, and I'm gonna put Chucky first because like I got me some Chucky.
Right. Okay.
You know what I mean? Like I got like I'm a big fan. I got all the movies, like I got all the Friday the 13th, all the Nightmare on Elm Streets, all that. But I got all the Chuckies, and I made a big like point in my life to collect all the DVDs and whatnot, and actually like make a collection out of it. So and to get the doll, that was $80 on an auction site.
Yeah,
so yeah, definitely.
I've seen that doll go for like $300-400, so $80 ain't bad.
That ain't bad, right?
No, not bad at all.
So and the box too. That was real impressive. I was able to get the box. The one of my exes had a different Chucky doll that came in the box, and I just basically like came in the box, but basically was just like, "Yo, like, can I just have that?" And she's like, "No," and I'm like, "Please," and she's like, "Yeah."
Nice.
So I got
Shout
a box.
Shout out to Kyle's ex for that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my Mount Rushmore. I got the Leprechaun first, Mountain Men, Myers, Freddy, and Chucky.
Not bad. Not where I would have gone with it, but not bad.
But that's just personal. That's just personal reasons.
And that's why Forced Mount Rushmore is so much fun, because I force you to make these personal reasons. I force you to make these personal choices. And
you're a wonderful interviewer.
That's what I do. That's why it's called Straight Talk Wrestling. Okay.
Hell yeah.
I speak it. I live it. I love it. Kyle, before we go, man, shout out your socials. Let everyone know where they can follow you on the journey that is that Kyle.
Well, I don't have Twitter because I enjoy my mental health like being like somewhat good. It's not great, but it's somewhat good.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I don't have Twitter, but you can catch my Instagram. What is it? @that Kyle, because that Kyle was taken, so I put first.
Yeah.
Yas.
Yeah.
Yas queen.
Yeah.
And then I'm on YouTube. You just search for that Kyle, and then like you fish through the Kyle Rittenhouse videos to find me. And then that was a big problem there for like a couple months, like a little while ago. People searching for me and finding like not me. So like PD Skills' friend had a thing where it was like whenever they would bring up that Kyle, he would be like, "So do you mean that Kyle or that Kyle?" So yeah, so YouTube and Instagram. basically are the only two. You can find me on Facebook. It's under my shoot name, but like it's not as interesting, and I'm kind of just emo on there, and like I just post like emo shit.
He is very emo on there. Very emo. We're friends on Facebook. He's quite emo. Quite emo. But every once in a while, you drop a good fucking joke on there, and I'm like, oh,
yeah, every once in a
look at
while it's good.
yeah, once in a while. I find you go on these strings of like that, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, it's early 2000s Avril Lavigne. I can't do this right now. I can't do it.
Yeah. You know.
That's it. All right, guys. Thanks, my guest, that Kyle, for coming on the show. Peace, love, and wrestling. Check the socials below. All the links are there in the link tree. Peace, love, and wrestling. See you next week. Peace.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to tune in next week for another great episode on all available podcast platforms and hosted on Podbean. Also, check us out on YouTube at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Instagram at Straight Talk Wrestling, on Facebook at Straight Talk Wrestling, and on Twitter at _Straight Talk. And if you feel the need to buy some sweet merch, check us out on ProWrestlingTees.com.
Leaving the scene with no trace, not in my league. You out of place. I'm not at the top. I'm outer space. Can't eat with us. We're out of place. I'm doing fine. I'm feeling great. You're not my fan. You can't relate. Straight talk going state to state.